So you applied to Civil Nuclear Constabulary mid-November, and you failed your national sift miserably. Dear, that's the word you used. What can I do to improve? So the thing about the national sift is it's exactly what's on the side of the tin. You know, it's a national sift. It's designed to sift the numbers down. And they introduced it during the back end of Uplift. And Uplift, for those of you who aren't aware, was the 3-year program where the government was sponsoring the police to recruit 20,000 officers over and above what they would normally recruit. Now, we can argue until the cows come home about whether they're additional or not, because in the 10 years preceding Uplift, the Tory government managed to lose 21,000 police officers. So we're a sort of a net, you know, we're about the same as we were in 2010 now. Anyway, enormous numbers coming through. They had to sift the numbers down because even during Uplift, according to one of the Home Office ministers giving evidence at the Home Affairs Select Committee, only 1 in 10 succeeded in the whole process. So, you know, it's not a given that just because you're applying to join the police that you're actually going to succeed and get in. And so one of the things I think they needed to do was cut the numbers down, because the online assessment centre has an expense in respect of running it, and final interviews have an expense in respect of running them. And there's only a finite number of assessors, and there's only a finite number of interviewers for the final interview. And the College of Policing only has a certain number of assessors for the online assessment centre. So they had to do something to bring the numbers down. And so they introduced the National Sift. And what that has done is it's presented you with a series of behavioural styles, you know, and I'll ask you which one describes you the most, this or this. And to what extent would you describe yourself as this type of character? And it's also going to give you some scenarios, a situational judgment test. Situational judgment tests are where they're going to put you in scenarios where you're a police officer and they're going to give you some kind of conundrum. So an example of that would be, and this is one off my National Sift online course, you're in the locker room and you're just putting a uniform on and you can hear 2 police officers who have got a lot of service in, they're very well respected, and they're talking about a fellow recruit. And the way they're talking about them is misogynistic and sexist. And, you know, they may even quote the phrase and say something like, I've got no idea what type of individual they're recruiting at the moment. She's useless, just like all the other degree holders. She's completely useless. And you overhear that comment being made about a specific officer. What would you do? Actually, I'll throw that back to you, Aaron. What would you do? What would you do? Because I know they're going to give you some options, but what would your actions be?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah. I think I'd have to address it with the officers, because I think it's not, without obviously me being a new officer, it'd be difficult, I think, me addressing it, but I'd have to try and put it across in a way that would be, look, I'm not telling you how to do your job, but we shouldn't be talking about colleagues like that in an environment where everyone can hear. If you've got an issue with the colleague, you should address it with them, but obviously in a manner that would, I don't think, it's difficult. Obviously I'm a newbie, so it'd be the way I put it across. I wouldn't come across aggressively. I'd try and be calm, talking to them patiently. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the right answer. This is what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm not trained myself properly to deal with that situation. This is why I wanted to. I'm looking at this as a career, but obviously I want to make sure that I'm the correct person for doing it. That's what I thought would be the kind of answer. You'd address it with the individuals. I wouldn't go to someone else to report it straight away. I'd have to deal with that person, chat to them, because I think I'd give them the benefit of the doubt that they could talk back to me. They're an officer. They're supposed to be professional. I'm supposed to be professional. We should be able to discuss it and sort the matter out professionally.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So it sounds like you're describing what you think you would do in your current position now, because there's lots of phrases you use, like "I think I would." You know, I take into consideration that I'm new, and they're more experienced officers, and you know, I don't want to come across as being aggressive or anything. And what I might do is, and that was the language you're using. Does that make sense? Have I reflected that back?
Yeah, I've not been confident in the way I've put my point across.
Right. So there's something called the Code of Ethics, which you should be
Yeah,
aware of. Code of Ethics has not guidance. Code of Ethics tells you exactly what you should do if you hear or witness any misconduct. And it makes it really crystal clear as to what
you
you
report it.
because one of the things you said was, "Oh, I'm not sure if I'd report it. I'd maybe give them the benefit of the doubt." And yeah,
Mm,
and that's why you failed.
right, okay.
That's why you
Because I
failed.
need to follow it to the word of the rule. I can't,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't be inconsistent. I've got to follow that guideline. But there was two different,
I was going to say, Aaron, it's not even a guideline. You know, let's move away from that. The College of Police, sorry, the Code of Ethics is a code of practice. It's legislated for. So it's not just guidance, it's actually the law of this land. And
yeah,
what it actually says is that if you witness
follow to letter of the
misconduct
law.
or hear misconduct, you've got to do three things. First of all, you must challenge the behavior. Secondly, you must question it. And thirdly, you must report it to a supervisor. And so
Right, okay.
there's no wriggle room there. And you may be
No, you've got
thinking,
it.
oh, I'm not sure if I do that in the workplace because everyone will think I'm a bit of a grass and I'm new here and, you know, I'm sure I can deal with this as just as well as a supervisor can. Yeah, you might be able to do all of those things, but it's not what the law says. The code of ethics is not a guidance. It's not a rough guide. It's not something you can pick up and go, today I don't think I'm going to follow it. It's the law of the land. It's legislated for. And so that's what they're looking for. And that's just an example, you know, out of the many examples we're going to give you as to why you need to be behaving as the best version of your future constable self, the very best version. So that if you're a stick of rock in 3 years' time, just imagine yourself as a stick of rock police officer and we cut you in half, it would have code of ethics in your very DNA of that stick of rock. Just have it in writing, code of ethics, police code of ethics. You need to be absolutely on the money in terms of what they're requiring from you. And that's where people fall down in the National Sift because they're answering the questions honestly, they're acting naturally, and they're just being themselves. Because that's
Yeah,
the advice you're given. That's the advice they give you, isn't it? Act naturally, just
yeah,
be yourself and answer the questions honestly as you would in the workplace. Yeah, that's why you failed. That's why you failed.
yeah.
Not to say you're not going to make a great police officer. All this is a sift. It's a sift to sift people out through little trap doors like that. And that's all
Right.
you've fallen into one of the traps. You gave a lot of thought to your answer there, but it was wrong. It's
Yeah.
not what we're looking for. Make sense, Aaron?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, thank you.